What is the most wholesome fact you know? I've got a pair of cardinals that come to the feeder every day. I noticed that sometimes the male feeds the female. The female quickly shakes her tail feathers and the male responds by picking up a seed in his beak and feeding it to the female. I learned that this is part of their mating behavior. It allows the male to practice feeding because he'll have to fill in for the female when she occasionally leaves the nest with the hatchlings in it. Plus it's just adorable. In Germany, they have these frog fences. These fences keep the frogs from crossing the roads and getting run over. At the end of the day, somebody comes by and gathers the frogs and helps them cross the road. There's a species of bees that sleeps in flowers called globe mallows. Two were photographed cuddling, sleeping together as the surrounding flowers were occupied. Squirrels will adopt abandoned babies. Dogs will modify their play with puppies to let the puppy win. My dog treats our cat like a puppy and will lay on his side only using his front paws to defend himself. He usually lets the cat win and then she struts around. It's adorable. The last time Liechtenstein went to war, they sent out 80 men and returned with 81 because the soldiers made a friend. Cows have best friends, and when paired together, their heart rates are significantly lower and they experience less stress overall. Less than 3. Bees dance to show each other where flowers with pollen are. You know when babies are smiling and laughing, but then they suddenly turn away. They're having a happiness overload. Basically, their brains can't handle all the excitement they're experiencing by what they see. So the only remedy is to just not look anymore. In New Zealand, if you need to call the emergency services, you can just ring the number you would use in your own country and you will get through. 911, 111 999. It is so that in a situation when you are panicking, you don't need to remember a new number to get help. A train station in Japan had plans to close but noticed a student was the only one using it. They decided to close when she graduates from high school. The Netherlands sends Canada 20,000 tulip bulbs every year to thank them for their help during World War II. My favorite is the Christmas truce of 1914. Basically, during the Christmas Eve and day, German and British soldiers had multiple soccer games against each other in no man's land during the ceasefire. Just shows that soldiers are people and not extensions of their country's ideology. The number of public libraries in the U.S. is far greater than the number of McDonald's. Children who are deaf and raised by deaf parents will sign repetitive sounds and words at about the same rate hearing babies acquire language. Deaf babies basically sign goo goo gaga the same way hearing children babble when developing language. The quokka is probably the happiest animal alive. It has no natural enemies whatsoever. Though living in Australia, Billy Joel never sells front row seats. Instead, he gives them away for free to fans who can't afford them. The voices of Mickey Mouse and Minnie Mouse got married in real life. Wayne Allwyn, the voice of Mickey for more than 30 years, married the woman who voiced Minnie, Rosie Taylor. Bob Ross would receive letters every week from his regular viewers. When a regular would stop writing to him, he would call them and make sure they're okay. Bob Ross also once got a letter from a colorblind viewer who said they can't paint due to their colorblindness. He then did an episode where he made a painting entirely out of gray colors to prove that anyone can paint. Mr. Rogers hand-wrote letters back to everyone who wrote to him. Mr. Rogers began announcing that he was feeding the fish in every show because a father and his blind daughter would always tune into the show, and they wrote to him to explain that she would get very concerned that the fish were not fed on the days that he didn't announce it. Penguins spend a lot of time looking for a pebble to give to another penguin to propose. If the other penguin accepts it, they mate for life. When your cat narrows their eyes at you, it's their way of letting you know they care about you and are happy to see you. Most sharks only bite people because they don't have hands and are just curious. Good day, mate, how are you doing? Just going to give you a nibble to say hi. Oh my god, your bloody arm came off my bed. Ooh, that looks bad. Are you okay? You know what, I'm just going to leave. Okay, so I circled around a bit. Seems you haven't made it far. That's a lot of blood, mate. Here, I'll try to give you a boost. Let me just grab that thrashing leg. Oh come on, it's bleeding now too. Shit, you know what, I'm done with you bleeding all over my house. I'm just going to eat you to clean this mess up. Nothing against you. Otters hold hands to keep from drifting apart while they float. Volvo was going to patent the modern seatbelt, but they revoked the patent in the interest of saving lives. This probably isn't the most wholesome, but it's the first I thought of. In this era of evil corporate overlords, let's remember Saran wrap. Have you noticed that Saran wrap kinda sucks these days? It seems like it barely sticks like it used to and doesn't preserve food as long. You might think this was due to cost-cutting measures to line investor and executive pockets. That's the usual reason products go to crap. The actual reason is that the key chemical used in its manufacture was determined to be bad. Environmentally, they were unable to find a replacement that provided the same performance. There were no regulations requiring them to change the formula, and changing it would surely hurt their market share. They did it anyway without any fanfare, and it was a big hit to their bottom line. But they stuck to it because it was the right thing to do. Some turtles can breathe through their butts. Bees sometimes like to sleep in flowers with other bees, and they hold each other's feet. In Amsterdam, if someone has no next of kin or close family and dies, then a poet will be asked to read at their funeral. Looking into your dog's eyes produces the same brain chemicals for you and the dog that mothers feel when they stare at their babies. Edit, and I'm pretty sure they're the only or one of few animals we have this connection with. This will probably be buried. I don't think you guys would think it's super wholesome, but to me it is. When Ringo left the Beatles during the White Album sessions, the Beatles wrote him a letter telling him to come back and even calling him the best drummer in the world. And when he came back, George Harrison decorated his drum set in flowers. I think it's sweet because even though tensions were high in the studio, you can see that they cared about each other. If you applaud your dogs, they start wagging their tails. Whenever you see something go wrong in the world, either a natural disaster, an accident, or a man-made crisis, it's very easy to focus on the negatives. The tremendous loss of life, the monsters who thought an act of terrorism would help their cause, the mismanagement that made things worse, the people looting and profiteering from other people's misery. It's easy to get disparaged and see only the worst of humanity. But there are always people going out of their way to help their fellow man. The people who ran into the towers on 9/11 to ensure that as many people as possible got out. The people who hid Jews from the Nazis during the Holocaust. The Choctaw Nation Americans who sent a donation to Ireland in the wake of the potato famine in order to help in any way they could. People queuing up to donate blood in the wake of a mass shooting or other natural disaster. People who try their absolute level best to change the systems that led to these problems in the first place, throwing everything they can into protests and political action to try and make the world a better place. These actions are almost always done not for glory or personal profit, but because it's the right thing to do. And it happens everywhere, every time, in every country around the globe. Look for the helpers, and when you can, try and be one yourself. When your body does that weird falling thingy when going to sleep, it's because your body is not sure if you are dying or falling asleep and gives you an adrenaline boost just in case. Something about it makes me feel great. I'm over 5 years sober, and I never have to drink again. Mr. Rogers was riding with a chauffeur, and the chauffeur mentioned that they were driving by his house. Mr. Rogers asked to come meet his family and spent the evening having dinner and played the piano while everyone sang songs. The best thing you can do for the environment is plant a garden. Since the corona outbreak in the U.S., Many animal shelters have seen a big uptick in adoptions. Certain types of male spiders, when they are trying to attract a mate, will pluck a tune on a female's web to get her attention. Red pandas use their tails as blankets to keep themselves warm. Most humans are inherently good and willing to help you in any way. You've been helped by a stranger more often than you've been hurt. Online too. We just remember the bad ones. Once a seahorse finds a partner, they love each other for life. Somewhere in the world someone is recovering from depression. Penguins mate for life. Eating chocolate boosts your mood. Blind people smile like everyone else, even though they've never seen anyone else smile. It's just a natural human expression. Babies don't lie to you, so making one laugh is a great, beautiful thing. When a bunny feels safe around someone, it will flop down on its side near them to show its trust. Your penis is larger than at least 4 billion people's. Elephants find human cute. First one that comes to mind is something along the lines of this. During the Second World War, an American B-17, I think it was the Flying Fortress, was trying to make her way back home heavily damaged. A German 109 fighter saw it and decided to investigate. The pilot noticed the guns weren't manned and the insane amount of damage the plane had. A good chunk of fuselage was missing along the side. Flew up beside the bomber and caught eye contact with the American pilot. He waved. The German pilot then escorted the bomber back to American territory, where the German pilot waved off. These two pilots met each other after the war and became friends. People in long-term relationships, whether romantic, friendly or professional, subconsciously form a macroorganism together. Your brains work together to determine each other's strengths and assign tasks accordingly to become a more efficient and tightly bonded functioning unit, where your skills are maximized and you can save effort on the stuff your partner kicks ass at. You share a joint superbrain, brain red heart. In some countries, they have wildlife crossings, which are just grassy green bridges running over highways for animals to cross, so they don't have to cross the highway. I think it's the purest thing in the world. Renton didn't leave Spud any money in the train spotting novel. Irvine Welsh liked the idea in the movie so much, he canonized it in the sequel. My friends love me. There's this mouse, and it loves pollen so much it falls asleep inside the flower. Male penguins will show their love to a female by giving them a pebble. Elephants find humans cute in the same way we find kittens cute. A group of hedgehogs is called a prickle. Cats are self-domesticated animals. They began living with humans by choice. Trees recognize their children and will remove some of their roots to give them room to grow. Dolphins have been known to save drowning humans. The scientists got an answer to the question, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? Penguins can form homosexual relationships, and will even adopt orphaned penguin chicks. Happened at the Central Park Zoo, where some zookeepers gave them an abandoned egg and they ended up raising the baby to maturity. That new penguin ended up being lesbian, and paired up with another female penguin. Zoos in Germany, the UK, and even China have copied this with other gay penguin couples and abandoned eggs. Sunflowers always look at the sun, but when it's overcast they'll look at each other. IDK if this counts. But the universe, being as massive as it is, probably contains some planet where all organisms are happy. That left-handed people are only 10% of total human population. All left-handed Redditors, rise up, since we are somewhat rare. Sunflowers usually look at the sun, but when they can't find it they look at each other. Sunflower 1, bro, where is the sun? Sunflower 2, you are my sun, bro. Sunflower 1, bro. Lab rats love playing hide and seek with their scientists and squeal with happiness when found. In 2018, while the boys stuck in the cave were being rescued, a Thai Oasis fan asked Liam Gallagher on his Twitter if he had anything to tell those kids. His reply was, "Hold up. Hold on. Don't be scared," which is the first line of the song Stop Crying You Heart Out. You can still find the Andy Griffith Show reruns on TV most days. When otters sleep, they will hold hands with their friends and family so that they won't drift apart. Babies can laugh before they can speak. In the Netherlands we have special wildlife bridges. It kind of look like a hill with a tunnel through it, but it is a part of artificially created forest to make sure wildlife can safely cross the highway. You look cute today, smiley face. The first known cat with a name was called Neja, meaning sweetie. Swans only have one partner. If separated, they spend their whole life looking for them. Male pufferfish woo potential partners with art. Pretty damn spectacular art. https://www. YouTube.com/watch v equals VQR8XDK_UAAY